outdoor recreation for children with chronic medical conditions and disabilities, which was sequenced by Thesis. So I'll start writing time. My goals for this thesis were to develop a set of recommendations for outtripping for children with chronic medical conditions and disabilities in programs and camps. And this was specifically with Burgoon Village in mind. And Burgoon Village is a local camp in South Alton, Nova Scotia that caters specifically to this demographic of children with chronic medical conditions and disabilities and their families. Come on in. And, sorry.
More seats. Can you come up here?
Yeah, so Burgoon Village, as they're new, they're still developing their programs, and they are interested in developing an outtripping program for children with chronic medical conditions and disabilities. So this is my reason for this, my thesis. So on to my methods. I first conducted a document analysis, which included a review of relevant policy documents specific to outdoor recreation, as well as educational policies for children and special education programs, corporate policies as well. And then I also reviewed relevant literature, such as including segregated versus integrated camps, risk management policies, and leadership, etc. I conducted 9 semi-structured interviews, which included individuals in 2 separate groups, the first group being outdoor recreation programs and camps, and the second being service providers for children with chronic medical conditions and disabilities. And within that, those 2 programs, there were field leaders as well as administrative staff like camp directors and things like that. Once interviews were all completed, I fully transcribed them and analyzed them manually, so I pulled out relevant themes and topics from them and compared them amongst themselves. So, right into my results. In developing my results, I came up with 3 primary topics or themes and several sub-themes within them. My first result theme being staff experience and training, my second being policy forms, and my third being procedural implications concerning medical issues. And I'll go into a little bit more depth in those, but not into all of them in the essence of time. So the first result being staff training and experience. In interviewing participants, it was found that the most relevant and beneficial form of training for many individuals working with children with chronic medical conditions and disabilities, they found that their most relevant form of training was previous experiences, and specifically their previous experiences that they found to be beneficial included university experiences and previous work. However, what I found to be interesting was that many of the individuals in administrative roles, specifically camp directors and camp coordinators and things like that, found that they did not receive a lot of position-specific training to prepare them for their job, and instead they received quite a bit of, they used their previous experience for this purpose. So one participant stated, "In my current position, I didn't receive a whole lot of training. I was a camp director at my previous organization for 2 summers, where I was mentored by the now general manager there. Here at my present organization, I was kind of just thrown in." So they had to rely quite a bit on their previous experience instead of their position-specific training. My second result being policy forms. All of the respondents stated that their organization had some form of written policy within their organization, so that spanned from quite brief policy manuals or documents to very thorough policy manuals or documents, and even one organization had policies for each individual participant depending on their disability and things like that. However, among the participants, opinions were divided regarding the level of unwritten policies that was used in their organization, and an unwritten policy is really a practice or a policy that's developed but it's not written. So primarily administrative leaders denied the fact that unwritten policies were existing in their organizations, and stating that they had very thoroughly written policies. And if something was not clear to newer staff, then there was an open door policy and quite a few supervisor staff that were available to answer those questions. However, there are two participants, one of which that was a field leader and one of which was a very experienced leader in several different fields. They stated that unwritten policies are existent in every organization, that it's hard to cover every single policy in an organization, and one of them stated that they have to give staff the best training they can, and then hopefully they'll be able to improvise every situation that doesn't have exact science to solve it. And in the same vein, sometimes you have to take policy with a grain of salt. There isn't one certain way to handle something that will work for every specific hamburger group. So my final results category included procedural implications concerning medical issues, and almost all of the organizations represented among respondents stated that they have to have a basic level first aid for field leaders, but not all. But none of them actually had any form of higher formal medical training, such as a nurse, etc., for field leaders, so anybody who would be bringing campers on extended excursions. So that wasn't a requirement. It may have existed, but it wasn't a requirement. The highest levels of medical training or first aid training included a certified residential medicine administrator, which is a certification which is specific to a state in the States, and it basically just gives the certified individual the ability to administer medication when necessary, and then wilderness first responder or wilderness first aid, which are wilderness specific in terms of administrative first aid. So finally, I will discuss my recommendations. Based on my results and my literature review, and my document analysis, I included 5 recommendations for camps to implement in developing an outdoor program or an outdoor recreation program for children with chronic medical conditions and disabilities. So the first recommendation is to adopt risk management best practices for outdoor adventure education. And this recommendation is specifically in reference to Jeffrey Martin's thesis, which was a master's thesis in 2009 in the multi-year management program. And in this thesis, he outlines several recommendations for post-secondary outdoor or post-secondary programs that train outdoor leaders to be competent. And this recommendation basically suggests that organizations that are trying to implement a therapeutic camping program should consider these competencies when hiring staff to programs. My second recommendation is the development of an online module by camping associations to provide supplementary training for administrative and or field leaders of therapeutic camping organizations. So what I mean by this is having camping organizations such as the American Camping Association or the Canadian Camping Association develop online modules to train leaders have a standard of training for leaders, because there isn't that standard of training, and because camps like this are geographically unfocused, having them online would be very beneficial. My third recommendation is the inclusion of a higher level of medical training required for field leaders. So this one is quite difficult because having an individual who is highly trained in outdoor recreation or in outdoor leadership is not always synonymous with having medical training. However, it would be preferable to have somebody who is at a higher level of medical training, such as specifically a certified residential medicine administrator, and if possible, a registered nurse. However, it should be noted that outdoor leadership competency should always outweigh that of simply medical training. My fourth recommendation is the inclusion of a detailed application process for potential outdoor participants, and this is just a screening process for participants to basically submit to camps if they are interested in participating in such a program. And this application process could include letters from parents, letters from doctors, medical documents, any specialist documents, just to ensure that the camp is able to provide care, medical care, or otherwise to the participants. And my final recommendation is to complete regular intensive program audits to ensure policies are appropriate and up to date. So this recommendation is basically, this can be transferable among many sectors, but just to ensure that policies are up to date, that camps review suggestions field and going on overnight trips with children with chronic medical conditions and disabilities. And although it couldn't be formally included in my thesis, I found that to be very beneficial and enjoyable. Any other questions?
What was the main influence that you had going into this?
Well, for me, I have a background of working in camps, and I also have a background of volunteering with children with chronic medical conditions and disabilities. I previously been a nanny for a few different kids with chronic medical conditions and disabilities, and it's sort of just like a coming together of worlds for me and passions. So, but also, of course, the need by bringing privilege. Yes.
Do the kids view themselves any differently than kids who don't have these conditions when they're out in the wilderness, when they're out tripping?
Well, I think, but definitely when they have the ability to go out on out trips and when they're able to participate just like any other kid, that sense of being different is oftentimes lost. That sense of being different is something that they can oftentimes just forget about, and that's one of the greatest benefits of programs like this, is that they're able to really see themselves as independent, as successful in some way, and as just like all the other kids that are on the trip and beyond, which is a really cool thing, I think.
Okay, thank you. I think this will be interesting to stay on.